to make sure everything was organized, because it's so easy to be disorganized. And we are the organization and accountability structure for our clients. So if we miss a piece, it's kind of egg on our face, because that's our job, is to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks on behalf of our clients. So one of the things we have now is called the master checklist, to have when someone onboards with us as a client, we go through a master checklist. And now it's broken up as a Google spreadsheet into multiple parts, and it's actually really well organized. But in the beginning, it was ridiculous. We didn't even have a centralized place to capture all our clients' login information. Basics. Log into their blog, their Facebook, their LinkedIn. Where are we keeping their usernames and passwords in a safe, organized, secure place? We didn't have that place. What's that QA process of proofreading an article so that we don't have typos? Simple, silly things, but really important, because that's our service. So an anecdote on that, while driving in New Zealand on the opposite side of the road, I was honeymoon, so of course I was with my wife. I told her the whole time that I'm like, yeah, I got this master checklist thing that I got to write out, like all these different things that we have to do when to bring on a new client. This was many years ago. I said, yeah, when we get on the airplane, it's a long flight to New Zealand. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to type it out. Well, between sleeping and the videos that they provide, I didn't do it. So then we're driving to a glacier in New Zealand. My wife's just essentially sitting there while I'm driving. On my left side, right? I'm on the right side driving. So she takes out the iPad and she's like, hey, remember that master checklist idea that you've got? Why don't you tell me all the things that you do when a client starts, and I'll write it down. And so essentially I phone blogged, I dictated a master checklist to my wife, my new bride. And she took out the iPad and started typing in. I'm like, all right, well, obviously we need to know their contact information. And what are all the pieces of the contact? Okay, told her all the parts of the contact information, and ongoing and ongoing. And there were like 100 different lines. And now I had it in digital form. I'm like, all right, great. Now you can email it to me and we can massage it when I'm back at work. But that was a huge hurdle, because we were inventing something that never existed before. And the same thing when we're now going into video blogging. We don't like to do things that everyone else does. If we see a void, we want to fill that void. So it's always the fun challenge of creating something that doesn't exist. One of the things that we chatted about even before the call was our new LinkedIn add-on called Inner Circles. And we saw a void there, because when I use LinkedIn, or when I tell my clients how to use LinkedIn, I just tell them keep scrolling and scrolling, and eventually you'll see people that you want to like, comment, and share, because those are the VIP relationships that you want to stay top of mind with, and you want to like, comment, or share what they do. The easiest way to build reciprocation and get them to start liking, commenting, and sharing your posts. So you do it for the right reasons, but there are also ulterior motives. But if you keep scrolling and scrolling on LinkedIn, you'll start realizing that kind of 80-20 rule. Vast majority of the people that you're scrolling, you barely know. They're not your VIP. They're not in your inner circle. Well, shouldn't there be a really neat, easy way to organize your contacts on LinkedIn, where you group them together into these little circles, so that all your clients are in one circle, your referral relationships are in another circle, maybe your media contacts in another circle, you have other centers of influence in another circle, and you click that name of that circle, and now you just see them, and you just see their posts, and now you can engage with just their posts and like, comment, and share their posts, and now you've turned into just random scrolling into strategic time. So instead of like half an hour of randomness, it's 5 minutes of focused work. Well, we had to figure out what that really meant, and of course, hire programmers, etc. So it kind of relates to your original question in terms of the stumbling block, was kind of figuring it out as we go along, but it's also kind of having that foresight, insight, planning of what are we actually doing? What value can we really bring to our clients? And now with this new division, new venture, it's another stumbling block of how do we really explain it to people that get it and they can really see the fun value and the productive value from video blogging. So that's always kind of perennial challenge for me, is that the stumbling block of what the heck are we doing?
So when you were getting started, what compelled you to go in this direction? Or was there like an aha moment that told you wanted to go and create this?
Yeah. So, I mean, originally I was essentially my dad's right-hand person. He was a management consultant, retired from the phone company. He had worked for AT&T. Then here in New York, it turned into New York Telephone. They broke off, then 9X. And then when Bell Atlantic took over 9X before Verizon, my dad took an early retirement and became a management consultant for small companies. And I essentially turned into his right-hand person, his VP of business development, the person who introduced him to referral relationships. The people who brought him in to clients were basically CPAs and business commercial lawyers. So my job was to network with CPAs and attorneys, introduce them to my dad. Did that for a couple of years. Well, he built his practice. And then I wanted to bring on my own clients. And I said, well, let me give a hand at this consulting stuff. So essentially, I would go to every meeting with my dad. So I'm like, I know how to do this. And so I essentially turned to the people who I introduced to my dad, and they were essentially family friends at that point. So they had seen me grow up from my early 20s to my late 20s. So I turned to them and said, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. Do you know anyone that would need my help? Any kind of small businesses that would need my help? In that sense, the same way that my dad helps others. And thankfully, a few of them said, hey, Vic, I would love for you to help me. I'm like, oh, okay. And I never realized that there's a cottage industry of practice management advisory for attorneys, the law field, the accounting field, let alone financial services, and that there is a world there that's governed by compliance obligations and codes of ethics and the do's and don'ts when it comes to marketing, but that there is actually a niche cottage industry that I can essentially build my practice into a business with it. And that's kind of how I fell into that world. So that was kind of happenstance. And then along the way, as I would work with my clients one-on-one, soon realized that there were a lot of things that they just didn't have the time, and kind of how PhoneBlogger started with, oh, what if we could just do it for them? We would do a lot of time management, create the big blocks in their calendar to make sure it got done. Invariably, something more important, more urgent, or something that they rather do would come up, and they would just do that, either for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. Regardless, they'd do it. They would never actually do what they didn't really want to do, but they knew they had to do. And, we would pull one article out of them, and we're like, okay, great. Now you got to do it again. And we're like, oh, this is silly. If I can't get them to do it, why don't I just get them out of their own way and just do it for them? But can we do it where they're still the subject matter expert, where we don't have their expertise, so we can't research and write it for them? That would be disingenuous. There are ethics issues there, let alone marketing issues there. We can't get it right. We don't have their level of experience and expertise. But if we interview them, we can get the content out of them relatively fast. And so it goes. That's where phone blogging started. So that's the direction. Always said, well, what can we do for our clients that they're not doing for themselves, but they know they need to do, and they value, and so they would pay us for it. And PhoneBlogger started that way, and now the video blogging world.
Oh, outstanding. So do you see that there's maybe another profession that's out there that you would want to endeavor into, or do you feel like this is where you need to be?
For me doing, if I weren't doing what I'm doing, or another niche profession to focus as a marketer?
For you to do if you weren't doing this.
If I weren't doing what I'm doing, I would do more political and community organizing. That's what I did in school, in college. I would bring people together. I believe in people coming together and effectuating change and effectuating improvement. And that's, maybe what I'll end up doing, as I kind of create a legacy and step away from, the professional side or the business side of my career. We'll go back to bringing people together to improve the world, improve their neighborhood, improve their community. So people can call that political action or community organizing. There are a lot of buzzwords around it, but it's bring people together to create improvement. That's what I'm passionate about. I know that every one of us can make a difference in our own lives. Every one of us can make a difference in just a handful of people, let alone dozens, hundreds. It's easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of time and effort. You add, compound that with social media and other technology, it's even more profound how a couple of minutes of our time can have a ripple effect to improve everybody else's lives. And the more connected we are, the more we are talking to each other, the more we're helping each other, like hand in hand, not just these silly Facebook fights,
Sure.
but hand in hand, really helping each other. The more we realize our similarities, we realize our differences don't really matter, the more common ground we're able to find, the more we're able to make our country a better place, our community a better place, our families a better place. We're able to solve real-world challenges and issues. I don't know if I'd ever run for office, but part of it is through the elected world. So helping them, I'm sure, and helping them be more effective would be great. But kind of that grassroots community, people to people, peer to peer, is where I feel much more energized and where I feel much more worthwhile. Getting out the vote is part of that. But even an everyday perspective of bringing people together and making sure that everybody is helping each other and with their values. I mean, most of us share the common values, and it's sometimes the facade or ego makes us hold on to aspects that make us want to fight. But I don't think that's where most of us really lie. I think most of us enjoy being with family and want everyone to have a better family as well.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say one of your greatest character strengths is?
Clever ideas. It's I have to hold myself back from being like the idea of the month guy as the president of the company. I don't want to give my staff way too many. I don't want to be that guy. So I'm very careful with that. I talk to my partner. I talk to my spouse. I talk to people about the ideas first, their buy-in, because I have enough clever ideas. I'll watch TV and tell my wife a whole bunch of business ideas. Oh, they should do this. They should do that. Watch Shark Tank. I'm like, oh, they should have just done it this way. So clever ideas probably is my best character trait. Hopefully, I'm able to inspire others to come up with their own clever ideas. I'd like to think that's my character trait, but I'd be maybe too presumptive of me to say that I can inspire others. But hopefully I do. I want other people to kind of think cleverly. And I know my staff are great at that because I leave them alone to figure it out. If they have a challenge, I go, well, 2 or 3 of you go together and figure it out. I can figure it out for you guys, but then it's just my idea. I'd rather them figure it out for themselves. It's obviously better for me in the long run that they think that way as well. Mm-hmm. So I think it's better for everyone. So hopefully my kids also become clever.
So on the flip side of that, what would you say the greatest weakness would be then?
Focus, discipline. I think that's probably the hardest for most entrepreneurs. We provide a lot of focus and discipline and accountability structure for our clients. And the way I'm able to focus and discipline is kind of have appointments that, pretty much every hour on the hour, I have something scheduled already, be it this interview, a client call, prospect call, something else. If it's not scheduled, well, it's kind of, I don't know, forget what the phrase is, kind of like devils in the free time or something like that. Or the idle hours, idle mind of the devil's workshop. I think that's the phrase. So I don't really believe that. I think idle time is great because it's creative time. It's fun time. But focus and discipline really is what makes things happen. And if you lack focus and discipline, you need to hire people who have focus and discipline, because that's really where the implementation rubber meets the road is really important. But that's probably, the flip side of creativity is focus. And then unfortunately, I suffer from that I have to create an infrastructure to focus on my focus.
I can relate with that. Sometimes the shiny object syndrome kind of gets the better of you. That so many spinning plates around you that
so many squirrels.
Yep. Yeah, I totally relate with that one. So, where do you get your best ideas at? Is there a place that you go to get those? Nature or what have you?
I consume a lot of content. People ask me things like, do I read a lot of books? I don't really read a lot of books anymore. As I mentioned before, I listen to a hell of a lot of podcasts. So I love podcasts. I love Shark Tank. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I don't go a lot of business conferences,